It's
the
luck of the Irish. Don't put that in.
Oh, have you started recording?
Tell me your name. Let's talk for a while. Just can't resist that beautiful smile. My wish for tonight is dancing with you. Baby, take my hand and make it come true. Shake, shake, move to the rhythm, dance to the beat. Shake, shake, move to let go. Control. Dance with you, gotta get on your feet.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of The Box Cutter. My name is Daniel, and today we will be taking a break from taking apart an episode of Out of the Box to talk about the Disney Channel original movie, Gotta Kick It Up, starring Camille Guadi, America Ferrera, and Susan Egan. And my co-hosts today are my sister, my brother, and my brother-in-law. So, how are y'all doing today?
Hey, we're doing well.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. From rewatching it since 2002 when it came out, what is your fresh perspective on it?
I mean, I saw it back when it first came out, and I would just remember being like, oh my gosh, I want to be on that dance team. You know, I was little, so I was like, oh, so inspiring. Oh my God, I want to be just like them. And now seeing it, you know, all these years later, I think it's a cute movie. It's not too mature that like kids can't relate to it, or you know, little girls or little boys who want to dance can't relate to it, but it does. I like the fact that it kind of inspires kids to not hold back and go for things that they want to go for in life, even if it's scary, you know, just to take that jump and go for it.
So this is my first time watching the movie, and for me, I just felt like I kept getting references from past movies that I watched that are similar, like Bring It On, and then even like started just seeing themes from other movies like Dangerous Minds, where it's the teacher that comes in to save students. Right. But here, I think well, maybe in the other movies this also applies, but here I liked how the students also taught her, like, and specifically Daisy, who, that Daisy was like confronting the teacher because she's like, why do you not believe in us, whatever, right? And the teacher was kind of letting her fears of failing affect how she was teaching the students. So I thought, she was able to learn with the students and change. So they taught her something, and that's what I appreciated about this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Just seeing Hispanics not flanderized as like cholos, it was good to see a mostly true portrayal of a minority, like a community of minorities. Is how I'd say.
That's true.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's like every, minorities, Latinos living in the U.S. have normal lives. They are like normal teenagers, in America, who some of them, yes, we have struggles, but also we like the same thing. So yeah, I think that is a good, it was a good portrayal of that.
Yeah,
right.
And I think there was a good diversity of like character types and personalities.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it just goes back to that perspective of like, we're just like them. Like, I do see what you mean in the sense that like the fact that they seem to be like a public school that was like a limited income, because at one point Mr. Zawal is like, oh, we don't have the money in the budget for them to go to regionals or whatever. So it's interesting to see the struggle that they face as like a lower income public school dance team, as opposed to like the schools that they go visit that, oh, surprise, surprise, the whole dance team is white, and blonde, and they have new uniforms, and the school is really nice, and they're just like in awe when they show up to the campus, because they're like, whoa, it looks so much nicer than their school. So I mean, it's true though, because minorities for the most part do live in lower income neighborhoods, so it's nice to see them represent maybe not 100% accurately. I mean, it's fiction, but you know, to show how it's true that a lot of public schools either A, don't have teams at all because there's no funding, or B, have teams but they struggle with things like uniforms. That
Right.
constant struggle of always trying to better yourself when the situation isn't necessarily the best.
Right. So, 2-sentence summary of the movie is a recently fired .com executive, Miss Heather Bartlett, played by Susan Egan, gets a job as a middle school biology teacher at Marshall Middle School and is convinced to coach and head the dance team to inspire a group of young girls, as well as these young girls, inspiring her to come to terms with her past. So, growing up, this is probably my favorite movie. I love a lot of the late 90s, early 2000s Disney Channel original movies, but for some reason, this one just stood out just because I guess this like from the get-go I really like that it was lively. The school had students like all over the place, like, going from the parking lot, going through the hallways. It wasn't like just the main characters and everybody else was like in class or something. It was the campus felt alive, and it was like in the middle of like LA somewhere in
Yeah,
like
it took me back to my high school days, you know, arriving to school and everybody being out, you know, talking and with their group of friends, and, you know, a school life basically.
Yeah. And then we see America Ferrera playing Yolanda going through the middle of campus, going to where they, sell student supplies, the student store or whatever. And she gets bullied for the fact that, she's a little bit heavier than other girls, because they're like, oh, is that part of your diet, when she decides to get peanut butter cups? But, you got homegirl Daisy.
I was so
looking out for her.
bothered that they stepped on her peanut butter cups. I was like, I guess I was like, hey. I was bothered. If
Yeah.
that was the case, I mean, A, that wouldn't happen to me in high school, and B, I mean, I
A
probably
fight
would
would
have
have
gone
broken
back and
out.
bought. Yeah, I probably would have. Either if I would have broken out, or I would have just gone and bought some more peanut butter cups. I was bothered that she just let it go so fast. So I was
Right.
like, oh my god.
Those bullies were nothing but punks because they're like
Yeah.
part of your diet. But then Daisy shows up and she's like, get out of here. She ain't bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, whatever, let's go. Nah, for a fact, like, oh, what's up? Huh? What's she gonna do? They would have totally done that.
Right.
Like Yoli was the one that had like the body like shaming issues, and she also had the math issues. Like, girl, like cut her a break. Like, why couldn't she be the one that was like, very smart?
Why couldn't she be the one with the boyfriend?
Yeah,
like, why does it have to be?
Yes,
Why does it have to be Daisy, who's like the thin one, the pretty one, right?
Right. Right.
Not to say the other women, the other girls in the show were beautiful too, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, America Ferrera, it's also really beautiful. But how come she didn't have the boyfriend?
Right.
Like, why isn't she the popular one?
Right.
Right. I think it's a case of too many characters and only 120 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but to me, I also felt like, even though like she was like a supporting role in some ways, I felt like the support wasn't in service of giving like issue or like shedding light on a particular subject. It was really more in as like comedic relief,
Right.
and I didn't appreciate, I don't think it's good to do that, particularly, with a person who's probably, experiencing body shaming issues, right? So anyway, I think that's definitely an area that could have been improved.
But nah.
Yeah, they just let it go all quickly.
So, then we get Miss Bartlett coming in. She's going to the office, and then we got Miss Kim, the secretary, and Mr. Zavala, played by Miguel Sandoval. Welcoming her, but also warning her just the behavioral issues that run rampant in the school. because she's not the first teacher that they've hired. And maybe I'm grasping at straws, but the way that they portrayed as, oh, we're doing our job, but these kids are making it difficult.
You know, I thought it was interesting how, like, on her first day when she arrived on the campus, and like the principal and like the administrative person were checking her in. They're like, oh, you know, are you ready? Are you ready? It's gonna be a hard day, kind of thing, right? And I'm like, how hard can this school be? Like, they have a chess club, damn it. Like, you know, they have like all these activities. This does not look like it was a rough school.
It's based on Nimitz Middle School. Marshall Middle School is based off Nimitz.
Oh, I don't think it reflected Nimitz.
Where's
And
Nimitz?
Nimitz is
Huntington Park.
South LA.
Is it Huntington Park?
It's like it's like South LA, near HP.
Oh, so it's based in your neighborhood.
But it's near my neighborhood, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. Because I know Nimitz because Nimitz was near my school. Like it's like 10, 15
Would you
10
say
minutes.
it was more rough?
I mean, I don't know. I think no, I don't think it was more rough. I just think probably the area was a little bit more rough, but
or under-resourced.
Under-resourced is probably the word.
Before class, you know, we see Daisy and we see Yolanda, you know, dancing and having a good time, and then we get Esmeralda, played by Sabrina Weiner, admiring the two girls, you know, because they can dance, and you know she's just so enamored by their dancing and how much fun they're having that when they ask who's got the next, you know, song, the girls just like, you know, pass her up like, nah, that's weak sauce music.
She says, as long as I got the moves, I pick the track. Or what did she say? So
like,
I pick the beat.
As long as I got the moves, I'd be picking the tunes.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, ooh.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, why, you know, they seem like friends, but it's like, why you gotta be that rude to her?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I can see she's very you know, she has a hard shell on the outside and carries herself as very, you know, like alpha and like in charge and in control. And so I can see how she kind of played that off to maintain her image, you know?
Right.
Just kind of threw that shade in about like, oh, none of that boring music, you know, instead of just being nice. But yeah, I mean, I don't think she necessarily meant to be mean. I think she was more just trying to uphold her image, you know. She has a big head, exactly.
Yeah, because she's the dancer of the school. Very like it was very cliquish, which I wish was another plot point where it's like, you know, you got like this kind of like divish clique,
right,
that formed within the dance team. But you know, again, I digress. So we get to their first period biology, whatever, and this boy, he's like, oh, you know, let's be busting some beats. And it's like, you know, the language that they use, it's not that bad, but it's like, it's not that bad. I'll just say that much. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but they kind of made it a point to like
to make it seem
really
like
try and
really
try to incorporate like quote unquote slang or like, you know, like I thought it was kind of corny.
Yeah, so then, you know, they're just like busting beats, and then Miss Bartlett walks in and she does that little finger whistle, which, you know, props to anyone that can do it. Anyone that can do it is a, you know, is a BAMF, a BAMF.
I can kind of do it.
Yeah, she definitely, I mean, there was a presence when she came into the room, for sure.
So, you know, she you know, rather than make introductions of herself, she just tries to jump into it, you know, talking about biology and blah 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 blah. And these kids are just not having it because, you know, they don't know this lady, so why should we listen to this lady that we don't even know?
If you were ever in a public school and you had a substitute teacher, you know that nobody ever listened to the substitute teacher and they just did what they want, and then the next day the the main teacher was always disappointed. So I just picture Miss Bartlett being treated like the substitute teacher. I could totally see how they were like, "No, we're not going to listen to you." You know what I mean?
Right, because they just discounted her because like everyone who's been hired is just like, oh well, the principal like, oh, they never last long. So,
not to mention, like, she's like this white blonde, like really made up lady coming in here, and they're kind of not seeing her as like relatable. They're like, who is this, lady showing up here like this? Being like, why am I going to listen to you? Like, what do you know?
Right. Like, what do you know about the struggle?
Right.
And they just bust out dancing and making beats again. And, Mr. Zavala comes in and sees that Daisy is, shimmying her chest and,
patting your stomach.
Being a whole thotty.
Thought. She was being a thought.
All we needed was her to pull up her shirt at that moment.
Oh my
and,
God.
she got detention.
Yeah.
And, Yolanda, being the good friend that she is, decides not to stick it out with Daisy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, after a few days of struggling, the Esmeralda, loving dance, she figured out that Miss Bartlett went to Juilliard, one of those fancy schools in New York.
Right.
And so she's like, oh, Mr. Savala, I saw that Miss Bartlett goes to Juilliard. Maybe she can coach the dance team because the old lady dance teacher retired. And so they're trying to find a replacement dance team coach. And so, Mr. Zavala and the girls try and convince her to do the dance team. I like that we get to see a glimpse into their lives. So, we see that Daisy has a working, single mother, and, she's never home. So, or hardly ever home because we never see her. And she has a dropout boyfriend who I'd say it's pretty realistic of, ninth graders to be with older young men.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that comes with the age too. Like at that age, what are they like?
They're supposed
14,
to be
maybe.
14 through 16.
You do like the idea of being in a relationship, but it's all about like, me, 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 me. And I think his intentions are good, but he's just, still immature in that sense that he doesn't see what Daisy's trying to do. He takes it personally when it really isn't personal.
And she just wants to be grown. She wants to be, be an adult. And this is like a timeless issue of like adolescents wanting to grow up and be considered adults, but without realizing that there are things that come with the decision of wanting to be an adult, like having the need for money and having to pay for things and the limited job offerings you get because of your limited education.
Right. Yeah, I think that'll always be a thing. Kids wanting to grow up and be older until they grow up and realize, like, no, I want to go back.
This child is saying, as soon as I can, I'm going to be right out there in the world with you, to her boyfriend, Chewy, played by Eric Alexander Gavika.
Yeah, that was definitely
foolish.
Yeah. I think it was definitely a theme I realized was there, and I thought that was handled also very well. Like this idea of like not feeling identified or feeling like education is part of your core values, so you leave it. It's like not even worth your time,
Right. And I like that the boyfriend, Chewy, I like that he actually points out to her, it ain't all that great, I got this boss that heckles me with customers, I got to be working all the time. So he paints a picture to her like, it ain't all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I really like this movie. It doesn't hold back on its like betrayal of betrayal. It's portrayal of how the world works in SoCal. then we also get a glimpse of Esmeralda's life, which, spoiler, she's my favorite character in this movie. And I felt like she could have been the lead, and Daisy, her and Daisy could have switched roles as the lead. Because, Esmeralda, she is the oldest and she has a younger brother, and, she's getting ready for school, and he, messes with her, taking her music box. And, she tries to ask her parents, tell them to, stop bothering me. And, rather than her parents doing something right away, they're like, well, did you make him his breakfast? Did you do this? Making it seem like, well, like they're justifying her little brother's behavior, which is pretty much a very accurate portrayal of the Hispanic life, where males are favored or spoiled versus, daughters. And then, finally her dad tells her brother to give the music box back, but then disregards the importance of it to her. He's like, you'd think that thing was made of gold.
I'm surprised that it didn't turn like more of a focus on that, on her passion for music and school, or not school, but music and dance, because I know that she was really a lead in getting the after school classes back, or dance team back, and getting Miss Barnett to teach them or be their coach. But we didn't really see what happens to Esmeralda and her interest in music, right? And dance. Like, we saw that Daisy got a great opportunity, but what about Esmeralda?
Yeah, like I said, if Esmeralda was the lead character in this movie, it still would have been a good movie. But we chose to focus on Daisy, who lives a very rugged life in an apartment with a mother who's seldom home, and a older dropout boyfriend. Like, this is what happens in like the world we live in.
True. Yes, very true. But also, I think Esmeralda is also a very valid, story that, like you said, could have happened.
Right, which is why we get so much focus on her as well. I feel like any one of these girls could have been, the lead. We could have had a story about Yolanda and her body, and coming to terms with accepting her, her body, and her love of dance, and she doesn't have to feel subconscious about her body because she loves to dance. And we could have had a story about Esmeralda, where Esmeralda, she has this passion and love for dance. Skipping ahead, Esmeralda, is able to get the dance team up and running with the help of Mr. Zavala, and convincing Miss Bartlett that if she coaches the dance team, she'll tell her how the popular teachers get their classes under control and respect them, which is a fair trade-off. So they have their dance team tryouts in the basketball courts, and a mix-up happens where the basketball team and the dance team have practice tryouts and all that the same day. So rather than Mr. Zavala, the basketball coach, going somewhere else, I don't know, he could have had them run laps or something. They compromise and they divide the basketball court in half. But knowing how teenagers are, they don't like to share something if they can do something about it. So while the girls are showing their choreography, incidentally,
the basketball hits the boombox and it falls apart. That was
it was like
all slow-mo.
Because Mr.
The ball doesn't knock over the boombox. It just it breaks it in half, but the front part falls off. That was kind of funny how that happened.
Yeah, an accident. Not really. That was not an accident. They did that on purpose.
Yeah, that boombox fucking cracked.
So so they're forced to go to the shop class and show off their tryout choreography, and it's as funny as I just chuckled right now. So we have Marisol, this ELD student, showing off some moves to some, I don't know, what kind of music would you say, Juan? What kind of music would you say that is?
I mean, that's not really folklorico, but I think it
mariachi music.
It tried to be some form of mariachi music. That's the feel they tried to portray there, especially with the skirt she was wearing, which resembled like a practice skirt that people wear during folklorico rehearsals. So, but yeah, those moves were not folklorico, like mariachi folklorico moves, or the skirt was just too short.
Right. And then you have Yoli doing some pop lock.
Oh my God, Yoli's tryout routine is my favorite. Her little hands at the end, synchronized to the beat, like dun 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 dun, and like just the song overall is very like
she did a
like
house.
late 90s,
like
very 90s feel,
very
trans
late 90s aerobics
music.
Yes,
very trans, very house. And then you have Alyssa. Alyssa's like this, I guess, gentrified Hispanic. She's very gentrified, I'd say. And she does like these like Grease sort of like 50s moves. And then you have and then you have Esmeralda, and she did some modern dancing, rolling on the floor.
But why was that the worst? She was trying.
I
appreciated that, because how many people know of modern dancing, right? And the technique. People probably thought, oh, it's crazy. Like, that's not dancing. Like, modern art, like, or modern dance, it's like, it can be so subjective, right? And left up to people to interpret. So I thought it was courageous of her to do it, and brought something to light that really, some people didn't know about. So, but yeah, obviously her technique was off, and it did look like she was rolling on the floor for a part of it. But hey,
no, she was rolling on the floor part of it. So everyone tried that except for Miss Daisy, who, fun fact, was 25 when she filmed this movie.
Wow. Miss Daisy was quite mature.
Everyone auditioned except for Daisy. Daisy wasn't allowed to audition because she pretty much danced in front of Miss Bartlett in her class. And she's like, look, all right, no one on my squad gets to be the diva.
Right. She's like, I already know you can dance.
You ain't Beyonce, okay? And y'all got to be whooped into shape, all right? So meet me out on the track field at 3:30. All right, if you're going to be late, don't even show up. We kind of get a hint of how strong of a woman Miss Bartlett is, because she could have some bass in her voice. Like, from just saying that, you knew Miss Bartlett was going to be an epic character.
Yes. No, I definitely appreciated all of the kind of the strength and the discipline that Miss Bartlett introduced. I thought that was a really good tension between the kind of like, oh, this is fun, like I enjoy dancing, and like, okay, but if we want to be good, we got to take this seriously. We got to put in the work.
Right. So the next day, they're conditioning their bodies, building stamina, running laps. And then they asked Miss Bartlett, like, we got 2 weeks. We don't even have choreography. You used to be in dance. What kind of conditioning did you have to do?
Honestly, we didn't do any conditioning. Yeah, we really would just practice. We didn't ever really do conditioning. We stretched, of course, but we kind of, we were really young. We kind of were just there to dance. Like, most young kids are in good shape, so there's not really much conditioning you have to do, in my opinion.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. Because you were like lower class middle schooler when you did dance.
Yeah, I think it was like 6th, 7th grade. So I was like, what, 12?
Yeah,
11 or 12.
Yeah, 11 or 12. So they're arguing, and they disregard Miss Bartlett even knowing like what she's doing, because she, like she said, she even admits at these dance meets aren't what they were when I was your age. So she said, we'll figure it out together. And so she said, I'll figure something out after you guys run another lap. I hear one of the girls say, "Este güera me va a dejar de huesos."
Esta güera me va a dejar
de huesos.
De huesos.
This white lady is gonna leave me with just bones.
Has a bag of bones.
like I feel like they just went on Google Translate and were like, how do you say,
This
you
white
know,
lady is gonna make me
it's gonna make me skin and bones, and that's
Mhm.
what it translated to. Yeah, but
Fast forward to their first meet at Rolling Hills Middle School. So they go to their first meet, and they're nervous. If you've ever competed, the tension of wanting to do well, but then seeing other people do well is so nerve-wracking. And these girls are just, they're a shambling mess.
Yeah.
yep. And
Like,
then they just start bumping
"Brr,
into each other, and it's a mess, a hot mess.
right. And then you have these other schools doing like 50 spins with their like hair a certain way, all blonde with their peachy skin and sparkles
in
like
uniform,
yep,
with decent pom poms and dance shoes.
right. Like I think I only saw out of the group of blonde cheerleaders, I think I only saw one black girl.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so
I have to tell you too, though, that that opening when they get there and like the all white like dance drill team is there and they're just like giving them this like judgmental gaze. I felt that like I've been in that position, being in marching band and going to like against like the the school that was like all funded and their schools are like brand new and they have like all the resources. I was like, okay.
So they give you that gaze, but then they come up to you and say, GOODLUCK.
good luck.
Well, you see, look, that's a cheer. That's a cheer. So
no, that's a bitch.
I mean, that's very condescending. I don't know. Maybe it's like in the South how they say "bless your heart."
Yeah.
Maybe it was that thing. They were all humiliated, and Miss Bartlett, rightly so, she felt, she didn't really say anything because, inside she was just like probably having like an anxiety attack of this whole thing. And Daisy is like, you know what? I'd rather be in detention because you don't know Jack, Miss Bartlett. And Miss Bartlett just, sits there and takes it like a champ. But you could see that she was broken by that comment. Subtly nodding her head and, keeping her mouth open like a trout. So, they're getting ready to go, and Esmeralda just calls her out, saying like, you know what, there's probably, I'm sure you know a lot more than what you're teaching us. And for some reason, you just don't want to teach us.
Yeah, definitely that moment that I was like, ooh, girl, she caught you.
She wasn't invested in it, huh?
She wasn't.
She was just like...
She wasn't.
But I get it. She's a new teacher. She's trying to find her...
She's a new teacher. Her .com company just failed. She and a bunch of other traumas in her life. She thought this was going to be another failure. She's a self-destructive person.
Right.
So after their meet, quitting the dance team, she has to go back the next day on the weekend to go get her stuff from the locker room. Which, you guys were in school back then. Were the locker rooms open on the weekend?
No, schools were not open. You cannot just walk in there and to an open building like that
whenever you want. Like,
Okay, so she magically found the janitor to let her to open the locker room for her, and she hears music coming from the gym, and we see who else but Miss Bartlett getting her Donna Summers, Suzanne Summers, getting her groove on in the gym. And Daisy can't help but feel betrayed by how dare Miss Bartlett be such a good dancer and not show us. And Miss Bartlett it looked like she was doing some jazz.
Which, by the way, did you know that the song that Miss Bartlett was dancing to is the same song that Napoleon Dynamite does his routine to? It's Jamiroquai. Can't He?
It's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
It's just by a different performer, by a different artist.
Oh, really?
The song is called Can't He.
Miss Bartlett is feeling her oats, doing her little slither and her little skips. You know what I'm talking about when I say the skips?
Yes.
Yeah.
Growing up with my brother, and my sister, we would always try and do the skips.
I mean, I finally learned
how to do the skips.
He's still trying to find out how to do the skips.
Ooh.
Daisy is pissed, and she pretty much resents Ms. Bartlett for not teaching him that. And then we cut to, and this happens in every white lady movie, where we get back to Ms. Bartlett dancing, and then she tumbles to the ground and cries and has an emotional breakdown. That's mandatory in every white lady movie.
I love it. Yes.
Why do you think she was crying?
Because all these emotions were built up, and as a dancer, the only way to let out your emotions is through dance. A lot of the time, it's an outlet of expression, and I guess she was just dancing to let out the failure that she's faced, and she just cried because she's just probably came to terms with I'm probably gonna fail my whole life.
Wow, that's deep. How do you reconcile that, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so, the next week at school, they got Miss Bartlett trying to convince Daisy to come back, and Miss Daisy. So, we get Miss Bartlett trying to convince Daisy to come back the next school week. And Daisy wasn't happy. She's like, nah, why is it that you didn't show us all those dance moves? Oh, wait, that's right, because you only dance good when no one's watching. So, like, because you Beyonce, all right? You're Beyonce. You got the talent. These girls deserve your talent. She was the Beyonce of Destiny's Child, Miss Daisy. Eventually, Miss Bartlett is like, you know what? It's behind us. And, she decides to, rather than jump straight into it, she decides to break it into the fundamentals of what the heck is an 8 count. Because a lot of people who don't have rhythm don't know what an 8 count is, but people that are gifted with rhythm, like you, me, and our family, we know what an 8 count is. Even if we never heard what an 8 count is, we still probably would have rhythm. But people take it for granted that rhythm is a natural gift that people possess.
Right.
For Ms. Bartlett to take the moment to be like, all right, I'm gonna teach you an 8 count. And teaching them snap their fingers, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and all that, and how it works in dance. That was a nice little scene, teaching viewers that rhythm is important to dance. It's not just fancy moves. It's like you need to listen to the music and you need to feel it through the movements. Sync your movements up to the music. And so we go from them learning the fundamentals to them maybe a few weeks later getting their routine down. And their mix, I'm not gonna lie, their mix is freaking good. I love their mix.
The music?
Yes.
That's okay, yeah.
I love that part.
It's pretty modern for the time that it was in, yeah.
I kept hearing that song and I thought it was like Bombs Over Baghdad.
They practice and the girls feel like they're ready to compete, and they ask Miss Bartlett, what about that meet at Hamilton coming up? And Miss Bartlett is like, nope, haven't thought about it. These girls feel like they're being cheated. They feel like they're being wronged because they work so hard. And Miss Bartlett's just like, I don't want to get your hopes up, working so hard and, just for nothing. It's like she doesn't realize that she's projecting herself onto these girls. And these girls, being teenage girls, they go looking for trouble. So strike one. They come up with this elaborate plan of putting their mixtape on the PA and locking the PA and performing at lunchtime.
Which was pretty cool, I have to say.
And Miss Bartlett feels disrespected by the fact that these girls would, you know, disrupt the school time to put on a performance just to prove that they can, they're ready to perform. But I feel like that's like kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, because, you know, Miss Bartlett, she's got all these moves, but, you know, she didn't feel like she didn't have enough faith in the girls to teach them. So, like, why the hell is she saying, "Oh, I feel so disrespected of the fact that you would go behind my back and do this stuff," when she's not even, you know, putting her all into teaching these girls that really want to dance.
Right.
And then on top of that, you get the girl doing probably the most teenage shit ever, which is while they're, you know, spicing up the cheerleading uniforms, they realize, wait a second, we already sent in the form to compete. So why don't we just take ourselves to Hamilton? And, you know, even when this movie first came out, I was like, oh no, this is a bad idea. Like, I guess as a teenager, you think that you can do anything and get away with it. But for me, I always knew, even though I did bad shit, I always had that feeling at the pit of my stomach that I'm gonna get caught. But I'd still do it anyways. And these girls, you know, going with a bunch of, like, you know, 17-year-old, 16-year-old boys driving them over there. First off, number one, that's fucking dangerous. Because we don't even see these boys, we don't know who the hell they are. They're just Chewy's friends.
Right.
For all I know, they could have, like, done some they could have, like, sweet talked those girls, like, yeah, baby girl, and you know, you look good in those pom-poms and blah 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 blah.
Oh gosh.
I bet you.
I mean, they could have, but it's a Disney movie. I mean,
okay, we don't know what went on in the.
Trying to show.
We don't know what went on in the car trip between there and the meet.
No, now you're just assuming. Like,
I'm just saying.
They're just trying to show the innocence of, like, kids being kids, and, like, how.
But that it, you know,
kids make bad decisions.
As an adult,
thinking they're invincible, right? Most kids don't think that bad things will happen to them, which is why they do stuff like this.
You know, this is reckless. This is dangerously reckless.
But these are situations that teenagers face, like, whether it be going to, obviously not going to a track meet that you signed up for, or not track meet, but like a dance competition that you signed up for, but going at night with friends and ending up in these difficult situations where you're like, oh, should I be here? Should I be in this car with this guy that I don't know, who's older? You know, these are all situations that we find ourselves in as young kids and youth, you know. So, but luckily nothing happened to them, you know.
Yeah, luckily they make it to Hamilton, and they compete, and Daisy attracts the attention of Miss Linnell Elliott, the dean of the Performing Arts School over where she lives. And, you know, Daisy, you know, she's being very humble and honest, and, you know, I feel like I really can't afford a school like this. But, you know, Linnell Elliott gives her the golden ticket. Like, we have scholarships, you know, there are hundreds of ways of working it out. You know, I feel like I should feel something more, but I kind of don't. Like, I don't know how to feel about it, because it's like, I got a scholarship before, but I've never been, like, really offered, like, a free ride because someone really believes in my abilities.
Well, I have. And definitely I related with Mrs. Bartlett in terms of, like, you know, I got a scholarship to basically study music. Not really, I mean, yeah, I guess music, to go to, you know, to school, and I ended up, you know, like, getting scared of, like, just how demanding the program was, and, like, how prepared some students were at the school. And I think I just felt super intimidated that I ended up just walking away from the program and, you know, choosing a different major and not pursuing music. But it is something certainly that I reflect back on. I think in the end, I don't know, I still don't know if it was, like, the right decision. I think it was, but you know, I also realized that getting, for me at least, to school at that point. I had never had any of these other experiences, so it was also good for me to try other things, and see other possibilities. But yeah, I mean, this moment of like, you know, opportunity presenting itself and like choosing it and choosing to follow where it may take you, I think that's probably one of the most transformative things that happens to you when you're a teenager. So yeah, I mean, Daisy, you know, was smart to reflect on it and to like push back when Chewie was, you know, confronting her and saying, you know, that he was not feeling her spending too much time with the team. And like, it just, I think that moment is obviously pivotal to her.
Right. So
they get back.
Yeah,
she
they
pivoted.
get back. They get back from Hamilton, and surprise, surprise, they get caught by Alyssa's parents. And Alyssa's dad is livid. He is saying, you know what? I'm going to tell the principal. How can you lie to us? How can you not have your coach with us or with you? And we also get the repercussions from the perspective of Esmeralda and Daisy. So for Esmeralda, you know, she gets home and she gets scolded by her parents. You know, you haven't cooked your brother's dinner, you haven't, you know, cleaned your room in a week. We're due at your aunt's house in like at 7. You know, maybe this dance thing wasn't really a good idea. And you know, Esmeralda has valid points saying, you know what, you know, I cook, I clean, I do everything that you do when you're not home. Why can't I have just this one thing for myself? And her parents, you know, they have no good, you know, rebuttal for that.
And then the dad just goes, "Don't talk to your mother like that." Like, not even a response towards what she said about her having to do everything and not getting
right.
herself. She's just like, "Don't talk to your mother like that," because
right.
We've all had that moment with their parents where they just refuse to listen to us and kind of just want to pull that because I said so card, you know.
Watch your tongue, girl.
Right. And she just says another great quote. She says,
"But I was really happy today. And nothing you do can take that away from me."
It was just, I loved how she said it too. Because she looked like she was on the verge of tears. But, you know, she was proud to say, you know what, I don't care what you do to me. I was happy today.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then we get Daisy somehow figuring out where Miss Bartlett lives. How does Daisy have Miss Bartlett's address to begin with?
True. Maybe they got it from the school. I'm not sure.
Maybe Esmeralda stole it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like how did she even find out where she lived? She got her address, she showed up, and then Miss Bartlett lets her in. Okay, teacher, let your student in. Yes, you have a relationship with them, but that is not appropriate.
I mean, yeah, this was in the early 2000s, so I don't know what the social...
So they had no boundaries back then?
Oh, okay. I guess not. So, you know, she goes and she just like, she tries to apologize to Ms. Bartlett about decisions that they made, but at the same time, she's trying to say, look, we wanted to show you that we were ready, and you just are too afraid to let us, you know, succeed. And so Ms. Bartlett's like, nah, you got it all wrong. You need to understand that I danced for almost my entire young life, and you know, my parents were always criticizing me, saying it was okay, but you can do a lot better. Don't be okay, be the best. And so, you know, she danced for the wrong reasons and was stressed about it. Eventually, she went to Juilliard, and she just felt like a fraud because, you know, she saw how much better everyone else was, and she just had an inferiority complex. Right. She developed a complex because her parents didn't nurture her love of dance. They just saw it as an opportunity for her to make something of herself, not nurture it, basically. And so she finally opens up to Daisy to say, look, it's not you, it's me. I was just afraid that I'd fail again, and I didn't want to fail y'all. And the first time we competed, all those, you know, cold sweat nights and anxieties that I had just came flooding back to me.
How was she going to believe in the team when she didn't believe in herself?
Right.
It was really important for her to believe in herself, and I think that was the pivotal. But I guess that's the point where she finally kind of realized I have to change my mindset here. I have to do something different. So I think that it was that kind of like a pivotal moment in the movie.
Right. And Daisy imparts these empowering words to her. Si se puede. She learned from Marisol, who learned from her grandmother.
Who learned it from Dolores Huerta.
Yeah. She gets to work damage control, tries to talk with Alyssa's parents, and Alyssa's parents, are commend her for going over to talk with them and admitting to not believe in the girls enough, and and the fact that her parents say Alyssa has friends now, because I feel like maybe she didn't have friends because she was very preppy and stuck up, like the way that she dressed and the way that she talked, being a Hispanic that was very gentrified.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my takeaway from it. So, from then on, they have a montage, a great montage of them winning and trophy after trophy and dancing and all that stuff. The next few days, we learn that, Miss Bartlett's definitely getting more confident. She's learning how to teach better. And she just approaches Daisy because she learns that Daisy was approached by this dean for this performing arts school and offers her the chance to attend the following year. But Daisy's like, hesitant because it's just, these people that she can't fit in with. She did, and it's very, I like the fact that she says, it's probably all these rich, stuck up people who have mommies and daddies in show business. It was very authentic of her to say something like that, where it's like, it's across town. It's not it's not near where she lives.
And I think that's also, it's really valid too. I mean, I think the cultural shock of being in a space where, like, there are so many differences, so many value differences too, can be polarizing. It can be marginalizing too, for someone who maybe comes from less resources to all of a sudden find themselves in a space where, like, all of these other kids, their peers, have access to all of, like, these resources, and maybe they don't, right? They still don't, because when they go home, right, their parents are still maybe in the same economic position.
Right.
So yeah, I thought her point was really honest and astute.
And Miss Bartlett tells her, this is the time in your life where you need to see the opportunity, which is very true. I had the chance when I was in middle school. My art teacher, she gave me this form saying, "Oh, there's this school in Pomona for like art, and you should apply for it." And she really believed in my talents, but I was like, I was so hesitant to apply because I was like, well, how am I going to get there? I don't live there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I could have done it and I didn't.
Right.
So, I totally get, what Miss Bartlett is saying. Could I have made, could my life have been completely different had I, gone to that school? Probably would have, but I'll never know.
Right.
And so,
yeah, it's crazy when you have when you have those thoughts in your head about what if I would have taken a different path in life,
right? And
where would I be now?
Sometimes I just feel so mad at myself because I feel like I've gotten opportunities that Daisy's gotten, whether it's in karate or whether it's in art, and I don't do anything with them. And it's like I feel so mad at myself. It's like, why was I so afraid?
Yeah, and I get that, but I mean, hindsight is 2020, so if it's not necessarily the best thing to dwell on it. Like, yes, it's sometimes nostalgic to think about what if I would have gone that way, or how different would my life be. But I always tend to look forward and think about what new opportunities will present themselves to me, and how can I take advantage of those opportunities this time around, versus just skipping over them, you know, because there'll always be, you know, new doors that open, whether it's through work or through school or with, you know, friends or with moving somewhere, you know, there'll always be, you know, new doors that open. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I get what she's saying that, like, you know, when an opportunity like that does present itself, it's nice to be able to take advantage of it. You know, you can't always, and of course you'll have those doubts if you're not able to, but if you can, you know, just go for it.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but that voice often is the louder voice, and when it shouldn't be, right? Like when everybody on some level is experiencing that level of anxiety or insecurity about some imperfection that they have, and that's part of becoming somebody. It's part of the growth process.
And so we learned that they get to regionals in San Diego. And then we see Chewie. Chewie is just pissed. He's fed up at this point for the fact that his girlfriend is doing something with her life and he's not, you know, she's not spending time with him, you know. And it's kind of messed up that he expected her to fail. But like you said, being, you know, teenagers were very selfish at that point. But, you know, you could see that she really was considering dumping, you know, stopping dance because she loved him. But it's like, you know, young love.
Right. At that age, you're like, this is my life. I love this person. I'm going to marry them. I do anything for them. When the reality is, it won't last. You know, the majority, you know, it won't last. But that's their whole world right now. It's like,
right.
You know, oh, my love. Oh, I died for you. So,
right.
Yeah.
She says, you know, I'm just a kid. You know, I'm not ready to grow up yet. But at the beginning of the movie, she said, you know, as soon as I can, I'm going to be right here in this world with you.
Right.
Like,
this is the most
turnaround.
Yeah, what a vulnerable position she was in. Like I hadn't seen her be that vulnerable. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie until this moment here, where she was faced with Chewie and kind of staying out loud what her fears were, right? What she wanted, and obviously she loved Chewie, but she also was thinking about her and wanting to be more and just even do things that she wants for herself, which is fair.
Yeah, and I have to say too, I think I think the phrase, you know, that she says, like, I'm just a kid, I think, you know, I think it really reflects oftentimes the frustration or the anxiety that particularly I think teens and kids of color feel, because, you know, they often have to grow up very quickly. They have to start working, start providing, start helping, right? Like pay rent, bring money in, and like, you know, to really, I think, proclaim this like existential moment of her just being, right? Like being a kid, like how awesome that she found herself at that point being that.
And so she says the famous lines, you know,
Chewie, wait! You know what Miss Bartlett told me? She said that ever since she quit Juilliard, she wondered every day what would have happened if she stuck it out. Every day she wonders, Chewie. I don't want to wonder. I want to know.
Well, good for you. Buena suerte, chica, eh?
he just is just so frustrated that he leaves her in, you know, as he drives away. And so that's the first problem. The second problem comes when Mr. Zavala has to tell the Miss Bartlett, hey, we don't have any more money in the budget.
Pues that's when you know you're at a real like under-resourced school.
Right. But it's like, you know, but he also admits at the beginning of the movie that, you know, this dance team is a disaster. It's always been a disaster. So it's like, to have them be so good and then work on a budget that doesn't support their success, it's kind of like, it sucks.
It does suck, but I think it also says something about like sometimes you have what you have because you also don't believe in it, right? Like they probably had, you know, a non-excelling team because they also didn't believe in it and fund it appropriately. So
And what I like how Principal Zavala breaks it down, because he just could have said, "Oh, you need $1,200, and there's no more money in the budget." No, he says, "No, this is in San Diego. This is outside of our school district, which means we have to get like a liability rider. We need this. We also need money for the driver. We need money for uniforms. We need money for a lot of things." So I like the fact that they took like a few extra seconds to explain why they need money for, when they could have just said, "Oh, we just ran out of money." So what they decide to do, they decide to have a block party fundraiser, which is like, you know, I'm surprised that no one else has ever thought of having something like that, because I think it's like, it looked like such a fun scene. And they do
my God, can we talk about that scene, please? Because how was Yolanda collecting cash from the fundraiser gonna teach her about math? I'm like, girl,
because it's about taxes and tabulation.
Okay.
There was no taxes going on there.
I don't know anything about no taxes that they collected.
She just had to count one.
It's about you know, state taxes and how much money they need and an accurate tabulation.
When she dumps all the money, she's like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I have to count all this money, and I'm like, it's all $1 bills, girl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like,
I mean, it would be different if it was like an equation, right? Yeah, you have to tabulate or like come up with a formula that will tell us.
What if she had to price everything too? What if she had to price everything accordingly, so that way they could get the right amount of money to get to regionals?
They didn't explain it, like what her role was going to be in this extra credit. It was just laid out as like counting. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, I honestly didn't think that side story was like necessary, not especially with the damage that it caused her as like the chubby Latina who was bad at math. Like, she could have just, you know, she could have been the smart one that was like, guys, I'm gonna do this for my math extra credit. Like, I don't know. She, you know, it didn't need to be like, oh, pressure on her counting $1 bills. Like,
or like they have a car wash, they have like a barbecue, they have like, you know, agua fresca and you know, piñatas and music and all that stuff. And you know, they're very close to raising all the money they need, but they're short a few dollars
for uniforms, which, by the way, tell me where you can buy uniforms for $100.
So yeah, so Mr. Toxic comes and he has enough cars and money to get them to regionals.
Yes.
Mr. Toxic.
No, he's back and he's friendly now and he's supportive.
Yeah. He's not, I don't think he's toxic. I think the word toxic is like definitive. I think
you're right.
He is challenged and he is troubled. Or
he's a teenager. Troubled. We have to remember he's a teenager and he had to think about it.
Yeah, he's got challenges.
He's a child too, just like Mesme. Daisy is a child. He is also a kid. Yeah. So in the end, like, he has room for growth, and he grew, right? He realized his mistake. At this point, he realized, hey, I should be supportive, and he was supportive, which was great.
Yeah. So they get to regionals in San Diego, and you know, Miss Linnell Elliott's there saying, "I'll be watching Daisy." This is where Daisy just is so frank, because now it's not just about winning; it's about, you know, the chance to go to this performing arts school. You know, it's about, you know, winning because you've made it this far and you want to go further. And so, you know, she's building up all this pressure and unnecessary stress on herself. And Miss Bartlett finally comes to the revelation and tells Daisy there's a difference between being the best and your best. Forget about, you know, the performing arts school. Forget about winning. Just remember why it is you love to dance. And it's so simple, but we forget about things like that, of like, why do we love what we do?
Right.
Why do we do it? A lot of people lose their way and they just get miserable and they quit when it was something that they first loved and they did it because they loved it. And now they're stressed because they're motivated by something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then we have Marshall Middle School do this amazing number that incorporates, dance moves from the girls' cultural background, merengue and salsa, but also cheer, which made it stand out more. And it's definitely worthy of being called, the final dance in this movie.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I thought that their final choreography was very good. I thought
Right.
it like, I love how it like switches up in the middle. I thought it was dynamic.
They do their final dance in the movie, and Daisy gets stage fright. And I'm just
Right.
like, I know damn well you did not go all the way to San Diego to get stage fright.
Well, it happens, and I'm glad that that it makes her vulnerable. It makes her human. It makes her a
Right.
character. That
And I'm glad that Yolanda was the one to say, let's go.
She's like, let's go, girl. I know. She pushed her. I love that. You're right.
Yeah. She,
You're right.
it could have just been Daisy just being like, get it together, Daisy. But no, it was the fact that Yolanda was like, come on, hey, we on stage.
Yes, like, we're a team. Let's do this.
Yeah. During the performance, she just turns around and says, let's go. So yeah, so overall they place second at regionals and move on to nationals. At the beginning, their parents were like, there was only like one set of parents that would go and support the girls. And then through like the midst of the movie, you see like the parents be more involved, going to the competitions, helping them at the block party fundraiser. And then you see a lot of parents at like the regionals.
Right.
So it's like,
which is like 2-hour drive. So, they were really supportive in that way, that they didn't mind the drive.
But one thing I remember is that Chewie says this dropouts drop it back in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, this is what they say when it takes a village to raise something beautiful. Seeing that these girls, go from zero to greatness and inspire other people to want to be great too.
Right.
Chewie was a dropout, and he's like, you know what? He admits to, being jealous of her success and just scared that he would be left all by himself while she's going out being, glamorous, and he's, at a dead end job till he's dead. It inspires him.
That's deep. And and that is honestly the most powerful thing. I love that his machismo didn't get in the way. I love that his pride didn't get in the way. I love that he let himself be inspired. I love that he could recognize his mistakes and grow from it. I thought that was also a really powerful message for men, in particular Latinx men, to be supportive of strong women, of women who have potential direction, and not be intimidated but be inspired. I thought that was really good.
So, I mean, what's your personal takeaway? Who would you say is your standout character that resonated with you?
I don't know. I like all of the characters. I mean, for the most part, the biggest ones are Alyssa, Marisol, Yoli, Daisy, and Esmeralda. I think when I was younger, I remember wanting to be Daisy. I can't remember. You know how it's always like, oh, I want to be her.
Right.
Yeah, because she was like the captain and like the pretty one, and like, I don't know. Yeah,
25.
But yeah.
I would say the main takeaway for me is you got to try. That you got to just try, and you can't let fear get in the way of the things you're passionate about. Like, I mean, that's ultimately, what it is. Daisy had a calling to dance, and that's what she loved doing. So why not do it? Don't let your fear get in the way.
For me, the takeaway is that perfect does not exist. Perfection does not exist. You can only do the best you can and the best version of yourself, and try to be the best version of yourself. And that is all that you can ask yourself to do.
That's right.
So don't ever think, well, I'm not going to be the best. Yeah, you may not be the best, but you may be the best that you can do for yourself. And that the best, as long as you do your best, that's all that matters. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think my favorite character would be. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say my takeaway is having, giving support to others can really benefit them and in turn benefit you and inspire them to be the best that they can and have pride in where they come from.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I think my standout character obviously is Daisy. I mean, there's a certain like
maturity,
kind of cockiness that she had at the beginning that gets really kind of put in her place when she realizes that she needs to put in the work, that she can't rely just on her talents. And I thought for me that resonated a lot. So I like Daisy's character, but I think they're all interesting. I think they're all really interesting. Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I think I really resonated with the peanut butter cup that fell to the floor and got squished. I feel like it got 15 seconds of fame. And I think for me it was Esmeralda. I think Esmeralda I think there was a lot of facets to her, and I wish there was more that we could have seen. I think there was something there. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I like them all. They were all great in their own way. I guess, resonated more with Esmeralda, and I liked her character the best.
That's a good takeaway. I would say, if you ever have an opportunity that presents itself, even if you're scared to, or you don't think you'll be good at it, just go for it, no doubts. And if it doesn't work out, don't dwell on it. There'll always be another door that opens up in the future.
So overall, I'd say gotta kick it up. Still holds up. The script writing is very relatable. It's very much a thing still. Setting is very real. If they rewrote this script and made it for something today, I'd still say people would love it because it's just, I feel it's such a timeless Disney movie versus like other movies that people love, but then when they rewatch it, it's like, oh my god, this is so dated.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I think it still holds up.
Yeah, it's such a timeless thing. And I feel like a lot of Latinos should, if they never watch it, should give it a chance. Or if they watched it when they were like, they should rewatch it again because, like I said, I just have such a bias, and it's probably my favorite Disney movie, Disney Channel original movie. Out of like all the ones from like the 90s and 2000s, this is like my favorite. Make sure to leave a comment if you like what you hear. Why not subscribe? I'm on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube as The Box Cutter Podcast. Send all feedback, suggestions, and comments to theboxcutterpodcast@gmail.com because it takes a village to raise something beautiful. In the word of Marshall Middle School. Sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede. Go, Marshall.